glad that it is Saturday again. We're getting to have quilts and coffee. So I hope everybody's had a great week and looking forward to the week ahead. I hope you have great plans for your Saturday and your Sunday. I appreciate you tuning in today. I know that you could be watching other programs and spending other things with your time, and I appreciate it. Whether you're watching live or on the replay, I appreciate you spending time here today. So, you know, um, I've been saying in the last few Quilt and Coffee Live that, I had not been feeling well, and that the last 3 or 4 weeks, maybe now 5, I have not been able to quilt very much or do sewing. Good morning, Michelle. I hope you're doing well this morning. And I haven't been able to do much sewing, but I did get last night and at like 6 p.m. and started sewing something where I had gotten some inspiration from looking at unfinished quilts and quilt blocks on eBay. So that's what I'm going to kind of go over. I spent 3 hours on this, and I kind of found some little things that make it a little easier once you kind of go through it. And so, but I'm going to show you, um, what I had worked on. I just did enough to where you could kind of see what was going on. I wasn't able to finish a whole quilt in 3 hours. I mean, I've got a fast sewing machine, but I'm just not that good. And I didn't do well on my cutting. So, and I'm going to go over that. I'm going to kind of give you some tips and tricks about the cutting. So what I did was I started sewing 3 strips together like a fence rail. And then I even picked fabrics that I really didn't like together. These are not my favorite fabrics. I really couldn't find anything else to go with them, and I put them together. Now, I didn't get any of these cut, but I had everything that I had sewn together. I really didn't like how they combined with anything else that I had in my stash. And the purpose of this was to use something that I had to get something done and kind of give it a little oomph and pizzazz without having to go through a lot. But I ran into some problems, but I'm going to show you what I ran into and help you with it. Okay. So, and then here's another set of strips. Now these are beautiful fabrics, but it's difficult for me to find something that I already had in my stash that went with those. So I've made some very unusual combinations for how I usually do things. And like, you end up sewing these together, and of course you're going to have like a fence rail block, and this is 6.5 by 6.5, and this is another one of those fabric combinations. I have had this fabric since I have started sewing 8 years ago, and then I bought this. This was my first quilt shop purchase right here, and then this was too. This was yardage that was on sale at the quilt shop, and I had bought this from Missouri Star Quilt Company, and that's what I made my first quilt from. Was something else in this line that was a diagonal stripe. And so I've had these fabrics for a long time, so it's time to use them. And I had already cut them up into 2.5-inch strips and packed them away for whenever I'm ready to use them. Because if you've been watching, I have a little video about how to get started when you kind of really don't have an idea, and start with sewing 2.5-inch strips together in sets of 2. So, and then I go into how much I already have cut up. And so, and then I had these. Okay, so I love this. This is kind of, I don't know if it's Riley Blake, but it has this little Riley Blake theme to it. I love this, but that stripe is hard to work with. I got this in a bundle of fabric that I bought off of eBay. I bought like 5 yards of fabric in a little bundle, and it was very inexpensive. It was an auction. It was very inexpensive. And then I think I had picked this up at like Joann's, maybe. I know I'm going to say something bad. Walmart. I give away my quilts. Sometimes I get Walmart fabric. Sometimes we have to be economical when we're giving things away like that. If this was a family heirloom and I'm trying to hand it down, yes, I'm going to use a little bit better quality for something that's going to be a part of family history for a long time. Gifts, we're trying to get some encouragement out to people. And sometimes we're doing the best we can with what we got to work with. But there's nothing wrong with that fabric. It's a little thinner than the rest of it. It's going to wear a little quicker. That's the only thing with that. But I would have never put these combinations together. I'm going to show you what kind of quilt it makes. And I did a set of these. So these that I have the blocks cut up into squares, I actually made blocks with them. And so, I love these. I love these. And I've been wanting to make something with them. I might not have used that combination in a quilt. So let me see what I got here. So when you have your strips out, depending on the length of your strips, of your 2.5-inch strips, you're going to have some left over. Now I had one set, I barely had enough to cut and get the squares, the most squares out of it. You're going to get 6 squares out of your strip sets. You're going to get six 6.5-inch squares out of your strip sets. Then if you have longer strip sets that are closer to 42 to 44, then you're going to have a piece about like this. This is a nice piece. I think I got 4 inches here. That's something I can cut up and use in scraps, or I can cut it into 2.5-inch strips, or I can make a border for this quilt that I'm going to have ready that might be 3 or 4 inches, whatever I have left over after I finish up the quilt. So, hang on to these because they're still useful. And, and if nothing else, you can put them in your scraps. And if you get ready to do something that's scraps, then, you've already got something. So I have my little quilt top here. I did 9 blocks. So let me finish. Sorry, scatterbrain. So let me finish the process here on how you're going to fix and get to what I'm fixing to show you. So you're going to take your block like this, and you're going to cut it diagonally. And then you're going to place it in a way where it kind of rotates around. You're going to have one strip that's longer on one side. So if you cut it diagonally this way, then you're going to have one strip that's longer, and then all of these are going to be kind of like smaller pieces, and you're going to cut 4 of those. So you're going to need 2 blocks. You're going to have 6 on your strip set. So you're going to have 2 that you can use to be scrappy. You can just make a scrappy block and put in there, or you can make them all the same thing. So I've got examples of both in here. And then once you cut that diagonally and you sew those, it makes a quilt that's like this. Let me show you let me fold it up. I'm trying to fold it up here. Trying to get the strings off. Try to fold it up here where you can see actually that same fabric as if it was one block. And right there. So it'll make a block like that. So that would be beautiful if it was just the same fabric throughout. It would be beautiful. Let me find another block because I made them all different. Now this one has 2 different blocks cut up. It's got this one and this one match, and this one and this one match. But it has fabric from the same line. So it really doesn't stand out as that it's mismatched. And then I've got it folded up here, and I've then I have another block that I did. It's only one set of blocks that I cut up together, and they're all like, I would say it would need a little bit more variation than this. This is a little washed out looking, but I've 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 done the falling for you, so you can go on and just sew. And then I have done this block that has some of the variants in it. And see, this is that fabric that I really didn't know what to do with, but it looks really good. So now I have some scrappy blocks in here, and I'm going to show you the little top that I made out of this. And there's some real scrappy blocks, and there's some that's just the one, the one fabric. This one right here is the scrappy block. It's one of everything. There's nothing wrong with that. And here's another idea you can do with this quilt. You can make these blocks, and then you can, if this is too busy for your style, and it's a lot of seams. If when you get to quilting it, it's going to be a lot of seams in certain places. Then put a solid block in between some of these to kind of tone it down a little bit, give your eye a place to rest. Or sashing and cornerstones. I really wanted to put, plain fabric in between those solids, solids or almost, they read as solids between those to kind of keep it not so busy. But by the time that I got to this point of putting the blocks together, I was getting very tired. So I thought, I need to put something together, be done, and rest tonight. So that's what happened. But you're going to have to, another trick that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to snip your corners, because you've got all of this. These are all bias seams. They're going to stretch on you, and you're going to have to be real careful not to pull. Another thing is, when you get ready to cut your blocks, pay attention to how you have your blocks orientated when you cut them. It makes a difference. But what you can do, if you mess up, do another block the way that you just did it and put it in there, because not all of these blocks are cut the same. Some of them will cut one direction, some of them are cut another direction. So, but when you put it in there, it's still a beautiful quilt. So, you may feel like you've got some little failures along the way when you're making this quilt, because once you get everything ready, it sews really quickly. But just being sure that you don't, you don't go, oh, I'm going to cut it this way, I cut it that way, and I'm just going to see what it does. Well, you're going to have to cut some more this way to make it work, or it's not going to do. Let me show you the design that it really does right here. It's going to be that you have your strips coming in on the 2.5 on a longer piece right here, and it's going to pinwheel around basically. So, and this is the idea that I got by looking for fabric on eBay, and then I got started doing unfinished quilt tops, and then I started looking at unfinished blocks. There's a set of these on eBay. I don't know if they're still on there now, but they were batik fabrics, and I think there's like 16 blocks, and they wanted $45 for them. And I get the fabric and their time and everything, but I was going like, I have fabric. It's not like I don't have fabric, and it's not like I really, can do a lot of quilting. The quilting part of it is not easy for me because of problems with my neck and my shoulders. So I can sew what I need to sew and have this back. if nothing else, I can take this and make another row of these blocks and then put borders on them. And then I have a nice size baby quilt or or add a little bit more and have um, like a little picnic blanket. You know, it's not going to take long for these blocks to really come out and be big. It really grows very fast. And so I had enjoyed sewing. I hadn't sewn and really sewn in probably 5 weeks. And so this was really nice to get to do some sewing, kind of get my mind off the things that we've got going on with our house and just regular going to work and life and things. So I wanted to show that. And I may, once I get back into doing tutorials and videos, I may do a more in-depth video on it and really show the steps and the details. But I wanted to show you that. And that's all scrap pieces. And you just need one of each piece per block. So like if you've just got one of each one of these, then you can go through some of your fabric that is like, you've heard the term orphan blocks. Well, it'd be kind of like the term of orphan fabric. You've got just one piece left. I know that there's some patterns that, you pick 36 strips and then you'll have 4 left over. So, well, you only need 3 for that. So you got an extra one somewhere. And as I showed you on some of these, I mean, I don't think that's a very pretty block, standalone. But when it's cut up, it gives a lot of interest to this. This pattern is very forgiving on your colors. I would do variations of light and dark, and not necessarily all lighter. You would need to have a little bit more variance than just medium, light, and lights. So, but I really enjoyed putting that top together last night, and that took me 3 hours, but I did do some miscutting and some ripping out and some resewing, and so it takes a little bit of time. So let me move my basket. I did have my basket here that I keep my goodies in for my show, and because I like to keep everything kind of together. And so kind of the only other thing I was going to talk about today was pre-cuts. And I'm going to tell you something. I am a sucker for a beautiful bundle of fat quarters. I am a sucker for these things. Okay, I've had this for 2 years. I bought a couple of 5.5-inch squares out of this, and I've made some. I've started something. It's almost finished. But it's like I can't cut these up. I love them. And, I think they know that. They get us when we buy stuff like this. It's like one of the other Saturday Quilt and Coffee lives, I said they got the best fabric on the top of the 10-inch squares, and it's just like they draw us in, and there's only one of them. And I'm going like, y'all, you got to give us more than one of the best print out of the whole bunch. And they do it to the 5-inch squares. Oh, that's a nice print, isn't it? Well, you don't have to go far till you get that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's beautiful. And I might have to. No, I just have one of those. Just one of those. That's the next one. See, that they get you. They get you. But I mean, I have ideas for 5.5-inch squares. Fat quarters is a little bit different. And I know if you are a more experienced quilter, the fat quarter was the first pre-cut. And it was like you could do so many cuts out of it. And, I kind of, when I first started, I got a 3-inch wide ruler. I started cutting stuff at 3 inches. And then I started finding out, oh, pre-cuts. Oh, now I have to go back and cut a 1/2 inch off of the stuff that I already cut. And I'm going like, okay, so they know how to get us on buying fabric. And so, but I love, I love the how they get all the fat quarters together. I had bought this like 2.5 years ago on sale from Missouri Star Quilt Company. And I love this kind of calico, prairie, Americana, well, maybe not quite Americana look. And I live out in the country. This is in an older home. This would make a beautiful quilt on one of my beds, and I have older furniture, and so I loved it. Um, I'm sorry, I have got fabric fibers tickling my nose. I'm sorry, but I love them, but I don't have, because I didn't start quilting whenever basically fat quarters were the only thing available. I have a really hard time kind of sizing up, patterns in my head to make fat quarters work. Now, there's some things that you can do, but and people don't publish a lot of fat quarter um, patterns anymore because the pre-cuts are so much more readily available, and it's a little bit more economical to buy a 10-inch pack of squares than it is to buy that collection of fat quarters like I just shown. And so I know you kind of have to have a purpose when you're getting that much. And but I I was just kind of amazed. They always put the best fabric on the outside, and then we go, I gotta get a yard of that or a half yard to make the best fabric show up in what I'm working on. And so I'm going to be trying to find some fat quarter patterns that are easy but look like you've really, you know, done some work on it. And there, you can convert some things down. You can convert some things down. It just takes a little bit of thought process. But that's all I had for today. I appreciate you watching today. Whether it's live or you're watching the replay, I really appreciate you spending time here. I appreciate you liking, subscribing, commenting. I know that there's other channels you can be watching and other things that you could be doing. And I just appreciate the community that has come in and has helped me. And just your comments are so nice. And just have a great week. And I hope this has inspired you to sew something. And I hope that it sparks some creativity so that you can make something to give away to others. And I hope you have a great week. Planning on being back next Saturday at 9 a.m. Central. And right now, I don't know what it's going to be, but it might be Friday night, and I'll figure out something. But I'll do my best to be back on next 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 Saturday. Thank you, Michelle, for wishing me well. I do appreciate it. Your prayers and your thoughts are very welcome, along with everybody else, because the past year has been rough. It has been rough, and God has seen me through. He really has. I have not had to use my walker or my cane this week. And I'm starting to get back some strength to where I have a little speed back when I'm walking instead of just, being very, very slow. And I just want to thank God for touching me and providing that healing to my body that the doctors couldn't even figure out what was going on. God has been so good to me. I just couldn't thank you, Michelle, for wishing me well, and everybody else that's been saying a prayer for me but hasn't given me a comment about that. I know that sometimes when I see content like that, and I will pray, but I I won't comment that I'm praying. I appreciate everyone that has been praying because I have really been needing it. They were actually telling me they were going to put me in a nursing home 3 months ago. And I am just so glad that I'm able to, do things close to the way that I used to was able to do things. It's been almost a year that I have been very, very sick. And while I'm kind of talking about that, I'm just going to say, when you have to understand that not everybody is going to be um, encouraging in a time of very acute sickness. Sometimes it's just best to say, I'm okay, and just keep your prayers going to God for healing and everything else. Because you do not need to be discouraged. You do not need to see someone having a very sad face and thinking very tragically about your life. You need to just keep your mind on God and just moving forward with what you can and asking God to give you wisdom to move forward. I just have to say, I am very blessed. I am very blessed right now. Thank you for all the prayers and the well wishes for me to get better. And thank you for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and close up. And have a great week. And I hope this has encouraged you, not just to sow something, but just encouraged you. And I am planning on seeing you next Saturday. Have a good day, and I will see you soon. Bye.